SK Broadband service na miyam gidamak kudong sabak ya puduna lakseri. High speed internet service ke tuan plan sing laser 450 plan da 200 Mbps speed Wi-Fi, IPTV, channel sani yang kai hena amasung SKTV ki OTT pangbigani. 550 plan da 300 Mbps speed Wi-Fi, IPTV, channel sani yang kai hena amasung SKTV ki OTT pangbigani. 700 plan da 500 Mbps speed Wi-Fi, IPTV, channel sani yang kai hena amasung SKTV ki OTT pangbigani. 850 plan da unlimited 100 Mbps speed Wi-Fi, IPTV, channel sahum yang kai hena OTT da SKTV, Z5 amadi atai OTT tara mari pangbigani. 1000 plan da unlimited 125 Mbps speed Wi-Fi, IPTV, channel sahum yang kai hena OTT da SKTV, Z5, Sony Live amadi atai OTT tara mari pangbigani. 1300 plan da unlimited 150 Mbps speed Wi-Fi, IPTV, free IP box, channel samri yang kai hena OTT da SKTV, Z5, Sony Live, Zio Hotstar amadi atai OTT tara mari pangbigani. 1800 plan da unlimited 200 Mbps speed Wi-Fi, IPTV, free IP box, channel samra yang kai hena OTT da SKTV, Z5, Sony Live, Zio Hotstar, Lionsgate Play amadi atai OTT tara mari pangbigani. 2500 plan da unlimited 300 Mbps speed Wi-Fi, IPTV, free IP box, channel samra yang kai hena OTT da SKTV, Z5, Sony Live, Zio Hotstar, Lionsgate Play amadi atai OTT tara mari pangbigani. Customer request da ETV Win Hoisoi natraga Sun NXT su lobi bayagani. Akupa marol gidamak Kaisampat Junction da laiba SK Office natraga Sangay Plong Mamang Laikay da laiba SKTV Office da lakpiu. Mobile number sing 8974-633-320 natraga 8974-209-152 da call to birak pasu yagani. SK
SKTV Group Nongthombam. Welcome to the Manipur Files, a journey through the past, present and future of Manipur. Hokiba September Getang Taragani Panda Department of Land Resources Government of Manipur Maikay degi notification am thoi high notification si lam laiba yon bamba di registration tawbagi procedure habatare Manipur pumbada hariba procedure si karam na chanari habatu makata na notify tawbadu makalgi notification na makani Maduda Maruin Harisi, transparency, amadi existing Chanariba regulations Mayamdu, Madu comply to in Helnabugida Mukta, amadi transparency Henamianda, makes in Unagida Muktaduga process the Karahiana streamline, Mapung Pan Nabugida Mukta Hariba, notifications, it hopefully notifications that nothing new, unovercome the Hubs and Bedinati, analyzable processing and a streamline Torpiano with the Mukta, and a transparent and good Mukta process again, La Mama Labu Matam the Karikari Deputy Commissioner, they apply to Matunda, verify Toba, Madugi Matung the Makata, internal review Toba, Madugi Matung the committee, and consider Toba, Aduga, last Masigi cells, did Toba, sell it Matam the Magi amounts and the Kaya, we got the boy with the Himnessing Baduga, Masigi condition C, Maruina registration Tobusi Karikari area, the exempt Tobage. Aruga kari area dana registration labor yon basi yahan ge yahan dage for example BFR Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation 1873 have the ILP channel matung da ILP ge guideline lere guideline sigi matung ina indigenous person dagi non indigenous person da lam labor yon bi yahan da ba registration to bi yahan da ba adubu permanent resident oiba targati yahan ba haibna singba gi wapum singa si hadi already existing channel ga leriba regulation mayam dumi am the reminder oina mas notification tholokpani hen compliance lehna gu hen ilhanna bu geda makta adu hairiba notification asibu yanang the phongdo oina United Naga Council UNC gi maike de gi hawkhiba september ge tang kun ga manga da state sigi governor Ajay Kumar Bhalla da masi cancel tobiu haiba land resources department thokiba notification se cancel tawgadabni masina article 371 c na piriba adumlaba special provision mayam singa si masi contravene tawi masi contradict tawi habigi wapamni adubo karai phawbada hariba notification asina article 371 c gi makhada piriba special provision mayam singa do contradict topge special provision haiba matamda maroina koigi 1972 da matamdugi president na thokibo order habatare Manipur hill areas Manipur legislative assembly gi oiba dumlaba hill areas committee order 1972 Manipur legislative assembly hill areas committee order 1972 gi matungena maside piriba koigi schedule matters sing habatare schedule matters sing du man schedule matter number 3 da chingi lam sing asida leiriba mafum sing asi sina matamda karamna sina gadagi haibagi wapum sing yauri masi schedule matter ne masi hill areas committee ge ayab logodabni habi humne maduna hairba mayam sing asi bypass tawba makal gi adum laba notification ni therefore tangtra ni pan notification si hando hangadabani habi gi request ma tawri adu ka tonga ba civil society organization na su hairba tangtra ni pan gi land resources department gi notification si bu yaning da bu phongdorli adu masida yaning da bu phongdu maram si maram chabra chadabra because already existing regulation mayam sing adu hena transparency lenu ge damta hena compliance ilhanab ge damta mayam da remind torba du makal gi notification amakal ni maramduna karai fawba article 371 sibo contradict tawri contravene tawri habs ge matang sida khana na yudam tanga si SKTV ke student election delivery basi ahan tada social activist hoja sang kasani hoja sang utram nokchari welcome to the show appreciate you joining also joining us Dhanamanjuri University ke political science department ke associate professor Dr. ARAMBAM NONI ni hoja noni bisu utram nokchari welcome to the show appreciate you joining too lorna Symbiosis law school gi assistant professor Dr. MALEM MANGAL mikub khari mandung na join to biragani but to start with ahan basai ojan oni dege hojage ojan oni article 371 c hariba notification asina karai fawba contradict tawi contravene tawi kamai thami beja
raz ekhona contravene tawi haiba ofum si karam hai la ino haragadi haukiba numit kharani sida maruoina chingda base tawba loop anina maruoina khoigi response tor pa haiba tare to 18 September 2025 ta khoigi Manipur gi akhoigi land resource department na thokpa order asi karam hai to ino haragadi Manipur da lam yonba leiba tawba sigi mana maramda anauba kayat khara puthokpani haiba tare ado masigi wafam sida khara yam chawbo wafam lai si kadai de ino haragadi khon historically yengwa matamda historically khona kamai yengadagi haiba matam sida ngasai hill area gi definition se masidigi khon hobi ai khuda moina hairabada ai khoina Manipur da hill areas ki wafam si karam haina changa ki ge hairagadi ai khoi Gopinath Borloi commission 1947 da subcommittee ma linki masina akhoi excluded and partially excluded areas haidana akhoi gi British lairingai matamda British India da chandaba Prince state ki man da chandaba lam sing bona sangi makha da leiba tribal areas sing sigi damakta niyom khar sem ki kanglon khar sem ki masi kanglon se British na chat khra matungda maroina India sina Manipur sibu loction khra matungda masi kanglon se Manipurom da chang khibai wafam amalai masi gi mamang dai khoina hygienic basi hanak thoiba 18 September 2025 da thoiba order asi khoini han haidori si masi ge loop ani sina piraiba response asi aigi opinion di han da over reading of the document yana haizage
okay
over reading haibiga arthadi piriba cherol asiga makhoina halliba artha asiga chenei chunadi maram aduna contravene oibe wafam si leifate sini yan hanbada anishuwa dai khoina haidori si ras su jai panbi khiba handak 18 September thoiba order asi ai khoina Manipur da president's rule lai haiba siga conjunction da pa da yaro kari ki no haiba matam da 2023 da cell date regulation 2023 Manipur gi matam dugi laingak na semamba aduda cabinet ki approval yawgodobani DC through the lakadobani aduga gram panchayat ki yawgodobani haibana chingba norms mayam si aduga regulation ri yawaiba adu president's rule lairabani na haiba institutions using functional OITF functional oidabana haiba 18 September gi regulation si tangai fadana thokta yadaba notification amani order se khona ma yengba yai atopa madana ras sa hapeti pan gi ba yam interesting ori basi hill areas soe haribo order sina Manipur pumbagi oina min tawi haidana iri saita nasu ngasai panbikiba adureidura hill area committee ga ayaba yaudana Manipur pumbagi land ga mari na law semba yadi haina presumption nama yauri masida yengadaba atopa maike kharadi karigino haiba matamda aikoina inline permit ki regulation si ngasai nahang haibiba 1873 edu 2019 da Manipur da regulation si India gazette fongdana Manipur extend torpa matam asida ILPZ hill area su Manipur pumbas yauna chatni
yes
maram aduna ILP like herbal lam amadadi karigumba lamgi sell and transaction tawgi haiba taragadi certain verification tawba haibas it becomes mandatory for the state and therefore 18 September 2025 order should be read in conjunction with the inner line regulation which is applied all over the state of Manipur maram aduna inner line permit asigi context asu haiba 8 September gi order asi akoina parabadi hena mayak laba amasung hena legal oiba reading ama phangi aduna 371 siga contravenous oi haiba se hekta haiba yaroi haiba sima thamjani
okay
atopa amadana aikoi gi Manipur gi MLR and LR Act 1960 asida yauriba si karino hairagadi land revenue gi law si except hill area natana chanagani haibani adubu 1960 gi MLR and LR Act say first amendment 1975 the toba sida di kari haino ongar gi haibada MLR and LR Act say Manipur state pumbada chanagani haina first amendment tawgrabani haibasima viewers sing nasu khangani aduga nainabiri bamyam nasu nainabada reference to season mathau tai MLR Act 1960 the ARAMBAM miyeng aduga MLR Act 1975 aduga 1976 thokiba gazette ki matungina di MLR Act ki empathiam chauthokre all over the state of Manipur apply tawni haibasi theoretically legally the adu foundation le of course akoi gi state ki MLR and LR ki extend to matamda land singdu survey tawdrabri revenue land oibe yadabrina survey tawba haibasi precondition amadi oi but that's a different matter legal matter the legal perspective the yenga di state pumbada MLR and LR Act 1960 se first amendment the sandokre haibasima khona khangmina bayai atopa amana aikoi gi hill area si aikoi gi hojiki UN sinama sung kuhurna tholokpa aikoi gi kanosida press briefing haigadra moi gi memorandum asida yauri si misreading tawba amasu khitang yawi misplace oi bahai batare hill area is tribal area in equivalent in the treat to yam kan yawi ba which is not exactly written in the law HAC gi matang the symbol law or MLR Act yawi ba hill areas ani yawi ba natragana nahang na panbiri ba HAC 1972 ki presidential order asida di hill area doesn't mean that it is a tribal area aduga interestingly I amasu panjage 1972 gi law asida VV geri na thokpa HAC gi order asida yauri basi kari no hairagadi hill area si kari no section 3 clause 1 I guess yes section 3 clause 1 gi matung ina kari haibagi haiganda partially or fully hill areas haibane aduna HAC gi members si kanana oiba yage kare mamafum HAC chatnaba yabage oiba yabage hadi partially or fully hill area oiba haibane aduna tampak ni haina su khanari mamafam kya da hill locks mayam lai adana adugi reading tawragadi hill area is absolutely yamna define oidi partially hill area oibusu yawba yai haibasi mu I ba haitare punamaksi haraga ikhoina naina ba yabasi aikoi gi handaki thoi ba cherol asida yam chawba issue khara purei madudi MLR Act LR Act na kondaba HAC na konma mafam sing state ki len nati haiba claim am yawe state ki law chatna din adubu hundung gi case ta 1993 gi hundung gi case ta su aduga dui matungda Orissa dana chingba case ka da su land belongs to the state haiba si gi wafam si yam chawna dum lai currently land haiba si chingdo ogera tamdo ogera abstract ta pairaga lai biya di it comes under certain statute and that statute is state sima aikoina clarify to bom su changba adana aikoina akoi gi ethnic oiba question yam lai hairaga su aikoina lam haiba resource haiba punamak se adugi ethnic ki miyang de loina paraga di ngasai legal gi over standing me am confused to adana atopa maike amadana mu yenga bada MLR Act the piriba hill areas asiga aduga 1972 the period hill areas ki definition pibagi authority and is a contradiction amuk thoeba MLR act that is state government na by notification I can read it out hill areas 1960 ki MLR is the is now within inverted quote as the state government may by notification in the official gazette declares to be hill areas masi section 2 clause J the yaweba how the state government na notify to be aba aduga som nakandana mo 1972 ki lapa kandana kamai haige haiganda hill areas means hill areas to be determined by the president of the country in India adu orga the 1970 ga to the lapa law 1960 the lagiba law amuksu muk 1975 the amend to giba MLR and LR act to ga masira contradictions odumak lady punamak si yenga ina haizening basi land haibasi cannot operate cannot survive in a vacuum. It comes absolutely under the state because land belongs to state haiba pre-colonial colonial ki matam dana ningthona palinge dana land belongs to the maharaja haidana muk darbar gi lai adugi su hena nungai ba potti wafam di 1949 da India na Manipur si India da yahula Manipur si India yahula matung da 1949 gi October gi date 15 da thopa gazette asida Manipur da lariba lam Manipur da lariba tax khudik maga se kanagi logi makhada chutni hargadi darbar gi regulation lairambadu gi makhada anuba law ama lakti phoba chatnagani haina yawaiba so land was not abstract not in abstraction land was always concrete it was under some norm it was under some statute and land cannot be defined as something which doesn't have any owner adana community of course Manipur Chieftainship Rights Acquisition Act 1967 do promulgate tore aduga akoi notify todana enact torogasu notify todabana mar implement tode haiba issue di lai adubu land finally is ultimately in the hands of the state and there are enough regulations to say that land actually comes under the regulation of the state adu mainan thamsi
okay mathang jei uja sang nu laksi uja sang ngai gi hill areas committee gi matang da maruna article 371C have that article 371C yam kanna kano tawi masi makada piri khudung chaba sing have tare masi violate tawi contravene tawi have you often say handak so among UNC gi makadagi tang trai fan gi notification sida allegation amad chaun lai atu bokoi na tang trai fan gi notification pa matam da thudok pa dum ba yaw often delay ti atu kari no yaw is bung yang matam da magi subject even matam the procedure for sale purchase and registration of land in Manipur and have sida specify to the higher hill areas that yaw ro ecology and specify to the overall koigi general stem no na Manipur na iram ba batara madun maram warga ching area da chingilam da su equally applicable oidore adu na chingilam da di leriba lamsing asi article 371 sigi makhad leriba special provision amana sem ki ba hill areas committee masi bypass tor ga pr have you often singma yam chauna serious challenge tawri hetare aduna maruina lamgi matang lak Manipur gi matang da lamgi chingi area da lamgi matang yoraba roga hill areas committee gi power gi matang da ningtina masida power se PDA have some matang city amna adum controversial we have tari amna masida adum debate adum torgal I have tar aduna handagi matang sida su sagi article 371CC contravene the when bibra du kamaru in hill areas committee have taram ko gi power si yeng the bit season any yeng do come at me
jaraj akoina ana yenga da base hojiki UNC na 18 September gi ko order se kaina tobio haibasi makta moigi memorandum da so adum controversial lebagi ko akoigi ngai contradict lebagi tum palle aduna masidi government na so top na so akoi law as parsinga patana akoigi leiriba article 371C da piramba do hojik leiriba Manipur gi kaino thokliba mayam se kupna naina ba machangi masidi gi akoi kari kari sakatpa apprehension leba akoi gi chinaba lebise aidi lehaning de di oje akoi na su chinaba ma le chinaba le haibase amada support oba amada tawdaba na taba ko aduga hojik gi order du da ya de habi gi na taba chinaba pot se hoi magi sector le aduga area adu le du ching da di hanadegi akoi gi customary law gi apply torakhiba le du da 1972 da June ki 72 da VV Giri na president oringe da hill area committee hojik article 371C se piramba ne haba pibadu da khoi gi function of the hill areas committee ki close to da fajana panba makhakse every bill other than go a money bill hairiba affecting wholly or partly the hill areas and containing mainly provisions dealing with any of the sexual matters shall after introduction in the assembly be referred to the hill area committee for consideration and report to the assembly hayaba and the bill do yade ya pass tawre habinataba kasai gi piriba provision to the hill area committee da always refer togadabani haiba amakha poche mamang si da laireba ko aduna provided that if any question arises whether a bill attracts the provision of this sub paragraph or not, the question shall be referred to the governor and his decision thereon shall be final. Aduna masigi se amend tawkhrabra ko masigi se kadongai kaino tawkhrabra haibagi potu laaba in case sigi se amendment tawramda bataradi hujiki thorakpa order do the madu refer tawkiba leitabnina akhoi the contradiction di leiba ko aduga number 2 da madugi close to gi amuga 3 da karmai lakpra hairaga close 3 da karmai na laibra hairaga the hill area committee shall have the right to consider and pass resolution recommending to the government of the state any legislature or executive action affecting the hill areas with respect to any sexual matter or so legislation or executive action relates to the general of policy questions of policy and the legislation or executive action is in conformity with the overall financial provision for the hill areas made in the annual budget ko so aduga mathang amu lakpa kanda ekhoina modification amakhak phangeba madugi 7 tarak patu da ngasagi modification in the rules of business of the government of Manipur masi atotopa na semba nate ko article 371c da laibado mathang tauraga rules of procedure and conduct of business in Manipur Legislative Assembly 10 edition gi lyric ni haiba ko adu da phajana hujiki adu da su palle kamai panbraga the modification directed in the third schedule shall be made in the rules of business of the government of Manipur 1972 and shall not in any way be affected hayabadu ko be affected by any amendments that may hereafter be made in the said rules by the government under Article 166 of the Constitution, otherwise than with approval of the President. Say don't clear way in high. I declare way in the low way. I know hijacking badi Hana Leramba article ama or natraga close ama Constitution ama Leramba tarade anoba ama dun effect of the boy de Leramba potu amendment tawba amadi changeba ai akhoina khanba da ko aduga amu madugi provision number 9 da lakpa kanda ngasagi hill area committee function makhada akhoigi serial number 7 da ko special responsibility of the governor haiba makha yauriba jaras adu the governor shall have special responsibility for securing the proper functioning of the hill areas committee in accordance with the provision of this order Hairiaba, although the Dudrin Yaurigo, and shall, in the discharge of his special responsibility, act in his discretion. Amu Yamna Nuaiba Manako, Maduki Chatabukanda, the second schedule da go,
schedule number 2.
The second schedule the go, serial number 13 da, last da, serial number Matamatalina, property marriage go, 13 da. Any other matter which is the assembly may by resolution declare to be a matter which shall come within the purview of the Hills Area Committee hairiaba masigi reference ta masigi based the UNC na memorandum do piba maleba ina khanba da ko aduna any kind of within the purview of the Hill Area Committee the lakani haibani aba madu lakpadu hairi budu toroi se togunu se haibana taba Hill Area Committee ama lak laibane na refer to bio khakta ne aba ko refer to assembly da puthokani assembly the passed obangam da bakanda bill do governor the thagani habisidi masai ki article 371 cg asida mayak sing na takhre haba adu ri huji order thokpo potu refer to ribra adu rule matung in to ribra haibado akhoi da contradiction amadi leire ba ko aduga amuk makha tabada yam noiba manda raj huji ki the fourth sexual do adu da mu yeng bio modification da ko the fourth sexual da ngasai ki after Rule 157 insert to the clause 2 the go. When a bill is not approved by the Hill Areas Committee but is passed by the Assembly, the Speaker shall submit to the Governor the bill as passed by the Assembly together with the report of the Hill Areas Committee. See, just procedure ne.
Right.
Madu chumde, madu thamningde, madu yaningde, madu ya habigi ponate. Aina lakchaning bade hoje 18 September da thoe ko. Thokpudu hoje ki asida akhoi ki 10 edition da ko. 10 edition Manipur Legislative Assembly ki Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business da. Sige in 10 edition sida Article 371C se last part hablieba. Sida lairamba aduga 1972 da VV Girina thoklamba order piramba mayam sigi madugi close the yauriba mayam se akoina munna paba khangba kandadi masai hill area dadi order thopa mayam se contradict dum chaleba jiki khakta nataba ko topa orsu lainu ge ora wera maramdi any bill se Hill Area Committee the refer to gani habeneva. That means it is required ko the recommendation or the knowledge from the Hill Area Committee except money bill habeneva. Yes, money bill the madu refer to the zoo madu assembly the tawraga ya habeneva. But none other than ko aduka topa mayam do the Hill Area Committee the refer to gani haibo po chimeyak singna lay. Aduka any bill adu cannot contradiction labor kandasu pass tawrasu tawdrasu tawbangam no chasu madu akhoi speaker na governor da ko final magi approval gi thagani haibane aba
right
sumai irabane na hojik thokpo order du da asai gi land resources ki hill gi touch tawrap kandadi madu hill area committee ki consent du yaurobra yaudabra haibase sigi wahang ne da.
Okay, adabu hojik tholi even notification dudi kogi any bill lama assembly da puthoga pass to nab ge damakta introduce to badu makal gi bill sunati haldi already act already lerba already enforced already act ma'am haptare act singa dugi tatraga regulations singa dugi regulations or acts singa du channel they are already existing sigi nahan thoki order du sadmak palle order a notification hang order sunati notification it is just a reminder adu sadmak palle comply with the existing regulation hujik exist toriba regulation mayam sing asu he na comply to he na compliance he na in laga lamse lainana ba yonana ba registration taunana ge damakta high notification se thokpani it is simply a reminder to the people of Manipur how the land shall be sold and purchased and registered adu khaktan yaduna masrida Hill Areas Committee wafum sikrai waida lakri no article 371 sikrai the contravene toriba no habagi one of the biggest questions to me but UNC and other organizations are alleging the government of contravening the Article 371. See, other areas today was Malem Mandala, was a Malem Kamai Thamibi, Article 371, C. Manipuri, Tuina, Adum Yamna, Quaidiam, debate to Ba, to Maruina, Lam Ambadi, Makogi Power Gimatang, the Habitat, so I said Yamnadum Yamchen, area, Amadi, Kamai to be handling Matansu.
Thank you, Zaras. Sigise. Kwigi lane gi pot of paksan base machine way run khanjai hanbada maram ding sai gi akoina 371C gi keno si yengba kan the constitution gi 27 amendment act 1971 gi lakhiba sigi historical political context amakak legi base adoga loina na Manipur gi kwigi hill district councils gi lakhiba sina torai se akoina yengtar gi 371 gi sigi magi close one se stay the the President of India na by notification the Hill Area Committee which would be composed of the elected members of the Assembly belonging to the Hill constituencies second aduga makhatara kuloina na Union government ki magi directive ki PB ki powers masi state government extend to way
okay
adagi second na ngasai gi governor ki role se lakadoini magi clause number 2 se sigi governor ki role se lapaka na man annual report na whenever required to the president report thabai with respect to the administration of the hill areas adu sei da hill areas haibaka na magi schedule the PZ ngasai waja kasang na habi gi bdo land amasung resources maroina primarily sigi interest am khak leibase aduna handak ki notification ji yengta agadi 18 September gi se len pakpagi adumaina aina uzai asagi protest na chingba resentment gi yaning dabase adu len gi matang da ding sai akoi ozanoni ju panbigre akoi gi state ki concept am lakhani India constitution gi article 297 da akoi gi any akoi gi resources including land aduga mineral simyam sing se masi state ki magi property bagi rights am lei adu akoi na public trust doctrine haibam ka lei principle masi state na leiba whatever akoi gi sigi wealth natural resources including land se masi akoi gi miyam gi behalf da man administer to badumba natural asset wealth ne haibitare madu karmaina distribute we have the state ki policy gi matung ina tawrakani apoina state regulated land adagi forest na chingba adagi reserve forest na chingba si concept swagi la ka doini aduna akoi gi state akoi danger worisa sai ai kanam tang pusin jaram gi akoi gi administration state yam khak oiba adu administration je when it comes to administration for example land law MLR Act adagi LR Act 1960 similar adagi amuk akoi gi say assembly manung the hill area committee one mechanism within the state legislature itself but it has been vested with a special mandate when it comes to the affairs of the hill areas haibam haidu aduna structure sigi manung da ani ni tho thambirame so aina say historical when the pusandara pakanda hoigi assist nandi gi magi the intimate enemy diko the loss and the recovery of the self under colonialism haiba say da akoi machine gi marak say da akogi colonial gi values sing se adopt ho kangbu maga adu colonialism sibu register ho kangbu magi value system ani contradiction to adu si contradictions akoi si court to se akoi si thorpangam de aduna thorpangam da kangbu sina kedoge ha kan da akoi gi anouba identities anouba political imagination and world views invent over hore adugi political akogi discovery of identity se masi chatpa kanda ethnocentric oirakpa furup khaktagi oibada sathi matam dang sai gi imagination che wang tawraga every akogi law amusung politics se adumaina sectarian oiraga sathi basina madugi impact se kudamoina akoi keno de yeng se 1947 dagina 49 bolak ko kan sai da around that time akogi 1891 the first to refer history da akogi British ki political agency na huziki India gi system da governor gi role se siga comparatively manaba position khara enjoy tawgi ba Maharaja Churchan sina minor wearing matam da British political agency na mana magi office ti amakhakta ni adu magi dual responsibility tawgi one on the other hand akogi tampaka mai lena administration se on behalf of Maharaja Churchan political agency na man mathu pangthoi adu on the other hand akhoi political agency ki office na hill areas ki administration man paichal le adu maina dual administration se British colonial legacy se amuka su 1949 1950 ki Indian constitution na muhapchal le adu Manipur ma context di se kyamu yam sathi rage habita agadi because already ngai gi colonial society colonized society ma oirubani na akhoi da aman ama thajana dabagi maru hunjan base mase yamna concretize tawe constitution India gi da say yengbiyo akoi 1949 the historical political context da there is an question of occupation of Manipur heavy question amale if we read in that same line 1958 Armed Forces Special Powers Act introduced the way whole of the Manipur state koi though 1980 da Imphal Valley amusung singda leiba sing se whole of the state se disturbed area declared the way adubu sigi military apparatus of FSPC kai season age hagadi it is against without any discrimination hill amasung chingtam khaidokte suppressive oiba India gi military apparatus se akoi safonga akoi adu awaba saina bi thengna hore then second the hosiki point se 1971 gi akoi gi North East Reorganization Act 1971 adu gi matung ina Manipur state would phangena mayam interpretation tawna gi ba then adu gi makha tarak pada hosiki 27 Constitution Amendment Act na maram oiraga India gi sigi constitution da Article 371C hapchalaga Manipur da administration ki matang da and land law ki matang da tonganba system structure ani establish tawi sina maram waraga ching amasung tam habigi waklon se hena solidified toksale akoi chingi lamdadi akoi gi land law tongana chali customary practices like and this is protected by constitutional safeguards like Article 371C itself and within the legislative assembly gi magi mechanisms ju akoi hill area committee mi yawi hill area committee ga mai hill areas ka mai lena any matter lakpa bill waigera akoi gi ayaba yawdan no koi kemda tawung ngamde so akoi je basically and in practice two systems of governance like heavy post like adun sta haja ningi se ngasai gi protest we put se there must be protest democracy ni elected representatives ki mo full right rai and public opinion leigadabani however every step of policy introduction or law se koina ethnocentric oiba midyang di yengaga masi oppose tawdabni haibadudi I think that would be very wrong. Manipur gi delicate oiba akoigi community gi coexistence ki akoigi equilibrium si yengba taragadi maitai na su anything drop da maitai gi oiba interest so ya na sum lepkala agadi akoi punna chamina sum ya roi akoi punna chamina si hanagi se 1947 gi September 30 da akoigi hizam irabon na MDU hall da pangthokiba mayam pulap organization mapan pulaga ko maduda akoigi tangkul gi isinau sing group yauri adagi mizo yauri khulmi yauri adagi akoigi poiregi yauri moi punna organization matam da legiba mapan de semaga Manipur gi oiba apunba gi integrity yaw resolution ani khak thengnaje madulai da adu resolution da ahan badadi Manipur gi oiba akhoi democratic governance lakna bagi reform tawbagi adu da even fizo gi movement se study tawna bagi resolution da palamme mi ani khangal laga tha ba haidan matam di advance am orame second da Manipur gi integrity se intact thamna ba adu da su akhoi gi ngasai gi tyangkham gi adu ga akhoi gi matam du gi ahan ba legislative akhoi gi assembly legi base madu gi speaker gi magi role makhoi da pi gi recognition adu ga miyam gi oiba evolution khal lae madu dai da akhoi gi tongan tongan ba Manipur da akhoi gi coexist tawin ra lakpa frup sing gi moina sajarak pa political imagination of new modern Manipur se madu su thoe adu na siung sing yeng tar ga di akhoi wakhal du yam chawtho me haizaning bane 1947 gi Manipur constitution act da aina len gi matang jeng jai maroina akhoi gi the Manipur state hill people's administration regulation 1947 se ado hill area sing se madulai da sina nagagini kuki gi ne khaidokte ado hariba hill area sing gi welfare gi administration and magi governance good governance mase it was vested to the Maharaja in council ne ado ga sigi Manipur constitution act da sumaina pe magi section 32 Sigal Wayana Yangadabni Haidana, Masagi Manipur State Hill People's Administration Regulations. The Moinis Yang Menakana Kaipanga Kanda Manipur State People's Hill Administration Regulation to one Semba Taragaso. This regulation is a part and parcel of the Manipur State Constitution Act. Aduna Manipur State Constitution the Act the PD say Masagi Hills to one Thamam Dev. British na Thamam but my Thamam Dev. Adubu 1949 da unfortunately India na Manipur se nampu da tinsalan gro matung da di ngasai gi British na semam bal legacy power se magi continuity structure se tonga tonga semdora kanda chinga tam gadi administration su tongan gada bani landlord su tongan gada bani high gi poram la e aduna akhoi ngasai gi notification sai da akhoi gi register bagi protest bagi magi fill to ba grounds e masi yengtar gadi yamna pikpa wakhalon da leibra aduga ta seng na democratic among da kodam oina ha kan narratives krai thengna je narratives da hari se maitai majoritarian oiba sina move to kudimakta tribal rights sok na tawi haibase each and every reading of the step or the policy of the government of Manipur se must it cannot be interpreted to equal as the act of the Maitai people madu lan gani ba chief minister akoi laigidrabo ozari sangna chief minister oi matamda mahagna torok policy kudimak se koina naga gi interest ne uragadi madu lan gani ba adumaina akoi gi government pariba then power elite class haibun su leiri adagi makhoi gi interest haibun su lei aduna mase koina nungsi charana himina se haiba taragadi apik pa bakhlon ji ahamada thadok pa changra haina khanjai aduga loinana akoina yaning double law kedu yaning drino akoi interest kamain soka dage haiba se just on narratives that padi yaroi akoi evidence puthok pata abani karam ba maitai gi majoritarian policy sing na karam ba areas or rights of the tribal people so han khabal legrapage akoigi proof to ngamba data changi habatare aduna adu mada sapna hen healthy oigadra debate legadabani resistance legadabani protest legadabani but we need to build our narratives on solid things that can be justifiable aduma in thamsagi
okay adu article 371 season of Manipur gi chingilam sing da hena mapangan kaklar na ba maruina as far as administration is concerned and empowered tongno gi mong da thamlakhiba mong gi special provision haina so gi constitution gi part number 21 the already mentioned torga yauri bane du bahari special provisions in Manipur was especially tangdur le tyadna lahen bagi maramam oirabra and probably Manipur gi 25 months ongoing crisis is one of the hujigi hari article 371 sisena magi phumdur lak pa koi gi mai gi ching ha batare adum am oiraga pokhairak pada hari ba koi gi thakun ga manga sur Manipur gi crisis amadum oram ba ya maram sing adumak leiri hepta duna wazano ni last ni wazano ni ngasai gi article 371 season adi marui lang sai gi hilarious committee ma lingjana ba aduga lenga ki magi tongan ba ka hebatare administration tawum lak tawum matam da madu ngai na ba aduga assembly gi da su makoi gi के है बता बिजनेस की ओइबा रूल सिंह है बता गवर्नमेंट के रूल अमदी कोई प्रोसीजर एंड कंडक्ट ऑफ बिजनेस ऑफ द मणिपुर लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली सी modify to we yana bi khudong cha basi hari ba committee se da piri aduga any bill nga sa waja sam su thambi ki ba money bill na ta ba gai money bill weraga di madu directly assembly na pass to ba aduga money bill na ta basing du di aduga hill areas ki interest ta affect to ga boy target madu hill areas so idna recommend tarong ga bani refer tarong ga bani have you of no singo mayam pali ha batare to hari mayam sing asi marak marak ta mag masi refer tarom mi tarom de have gi ILP की बिल पतोपे मतंग सुमायम सु लेख रहे बतारे तो अल्टीमेटली 2018 ददी हिलेरियस कमिटी नगा अप्रूव तौरगा रेफर तौर मतुंग अप्रूव को तौर मतुंग दा बिल अमा पास तौरगा पुन थामिनबगी पाउस मग लेखी अदन हंदक लाइव वाफम सी अदमाय तौदन बिल अमा पुथोक्तना बिल दु हिलेरियस कमिटी दा थादरम दी की वादु नते हांदि ऑलरेडी चटलरगा लाइबा तोंगा ILP का लाइन OBI ngasai tawza sing thame ki ba MLR LR 1960 OBI adu matung da bo lai ki ba ngasai acquisition of chieftainship rights act 1967 adu dugi schedule lam yoromi hari ba schedule si ki schedule se da palami si ko gi MLR LR act ki section 1 da define tori ba Manipur land ngasai gi sigi Manipur land revenue and land reforms act 1960 si except hill areas the chanagani hai wafum se except the hill areas of Haibase shall be omitted mase lokhoka da bani adu madugim hota insert tawada se provided that in respect of the hill areas ki matang da only the provisions of part 1 and part 2 shall apply you know the MLR LR se the part manga lai part manga je manung the major part se part ani part 1 and part 2 se ayam lo yaw rehta re and part 1 ga part 2 ga se hill areas sa chanagani aru ga part 3 4 5 ti sana ro habgi wafum se ni palam se aduna Manipur pum da MLR LR chala roi kan high be wafum ozana ngai 75 ti already lokthok khre mase channel ne on thok khre have su lere and already 1967 ge acquisition of chiefs rights act sida madu su pallaga dum lai rehta mase Manipur pum chala gani adu hill areas ke matang lakpa da only part 1 and 2 of the MLR LR act shall be applied have wafum se mayam jaw re so I said already exist orgla act mayam regulation mayam handaki notification ki kuthang sida miyam da remind tor bu khaktani so sida article 371 si contravene to we hai target han de adama contravene to we an hai duri ba mai thembe
ai han han bade sa hai ji budo ai khoi gi overreading of the notification is first premise ani shubada hojik president's rule lai hai president rules article 356 sanaba mafam da state ki assembly ki position se kari no hai ba question ma thole hai state ki assembly is either suspended or dissolved never both ways the HAC legally I think doesn't operate log experts yo bi ko adu khana bya issue hai dissolve tawre suspend tawre hai tadi what is the functionality of HAC HAC zu assembly manu galai banatro
mane
assembly either ma dissolve tawre suspend tawre thamani hoji governor na HAC da che thagadra ba because it is the governor's rule 356 sigi premise yeng da yaroi number 2 atopa amadana aikhoina article 1930s gi 27 dagina 30s gi matam phawbada darbar ge resolution yam lai maduda kai haigi haiba matam sida historically kitang yeng seba aikhoi je land si communalized tok da bide ethnicized tok da bida magi land gi evolution am lai ba state making am da changkhra miyoi singi haitare state making da yawdo mi gi wari na tongan bamani ko but Manipur has a very long history of state making you like it or not we have a very good history or long history rather aduda half a square mile gi hendokpa chingda leriba mi singi residential area gi half a square mile gi hendokpa lamngai do state ki leni ningthau gi darbar gi leni hena yawe haibadi aduda aikhoina venture tobe diba private property oina aduna chiefs oigera hill ki resident oigera historically they were not allowed to use beyond half a square mile of land from their residence that's a very historically process regulation sima aikhoina ningsing pe ai kari kino si ningsing is hai kan nga sai gi aikhoina land gi regulation ji atm ji am sangna tawraga lai haibagi ka imprint to pinning by wanida so that we don't fight over again and again that these land were not under any kind of system haibadumakteri haibe yaroidra haibasi khuna legal point of view dagi nei nafam thoktabra haibasi ma ahum suba take oin thamjagi mari shubada yam interesting oiba haujiki with regard to UNC and other groups customary norms Land holding, traditional land holding system is still in vogue in the hill areas. Traditional haiba wafam si pantari customary norms na hill areas ki land ownership is determined to Now the question is, regulation of 1972 HAC doesn't have any mention of traditional and customary norms, unlike Article 371A in Nagaland or Article 371G in Mizoram. 371C is a very different legislation, because Manipur gi magi land gi evolution gi norms mayam layeba adu punamaktu ngasai gi 71 da Manipur statehood phangdrimni ko Manipur statehood phangdabanina 1967 rajna panbiri ba Chieftainship Acquisition Act or 1960 gi MLRN LR si matam jida koi di central government rule to matam ne adu eragadi central government must be knowing very clearly how the land regulation has been happening in the state of Manipur. In 1949 ki 15 October the thopa gazette tasu hana ki darbar ki regulation chanani ni yawe, which means they followed the pattern which was followed before the merger. Adana see am interesting oiba aina haise community amatta de criticize to banate. There is a historicity of land regulation, land administration in the Manipur state from colonial times to the transition time, post-colonial. See, yeng dana, aikoi gi hausiki desire concerns na loina fit in toraga regulation to the yaw the terms and kenome am loina hapselaga nainaraga di adu desu kitang legally yamna weaknesses laigadra haibagi attention sima sigi regulation nainari ba singsida haizening ba haitare atopa manga suba point daina haining ba si aikoi na ngasai jo haigiba Manipur sida hujiji chingda ukrulda Tamenglong the lamama yon dore lamama leina dore male kamai to dori ke legal question because you have an ILP system. ILP system ki matung ina di land si indigenous na non indigenous te yon biya di yaure. Imagine a Naga person from Nagaland comes to Ukrul and he wants to buy some portion of land, but ILP says that non-indigenous person from Nagaland cannot purchase land in Manipur, even if it is in some hill area, because ILP is for the entire state. Adutadi, you have to have some procedures, some regulation, and I think this regulation is there because you have president's rule, and therefore they need a fresh order regulation to be practiced when there is a president rule. I think elected government of course HAC has to be taken into consideration, I guess. Legal expert more people, I'm just giving one of the readings, not the reading. Adana, how to regulate sell and purchase land say resolve to the ILP chanaba Manipur, it becomes very important. And this order perhaps hint to that. Adu lora putus yawido.
Yes.
Adu reminder yaweba. I na roiba amakakung hamning basi am interesting oiba. Indian Registration Act 1908 ki matungina Dr. Malem. Section 17 ki matungina any transfer of land which has a value of 100 rupees shall have to be registered. Registration tawdana lupa sam ki value laiba lamam to yon biya diye. Adu eta dia khoi na chief na na any meme na pa me lamama mapani me pithok pa ya diye. Transaction has to happen through certain forms of registration. See mayam zil laibani na aina khanbada of course oja sang yam phajana I really appreciate Oja Sangi motto HAC gi role ama lairibra hojik haibase. It is something that the legal experts should talk about, but I suspect there is president rule, probably HAC doesn't work. Adana hayeng elected government lakan of course HAC has to be taken into consideration. As of today, I guess we are in a different situation.
Okay, president rule manu seda hojik wenadi kogi assembly suspend torog laibani aduna HAC gi role su adum adai tu da magi mathau se tawdre which bogi on the have you ngong legene tu maru na je tholi se supila no bama pass to bokpa kemtana tri only hand gi existing guidelines and acts ma'am chana kanun ma'am singa du remind tor pa du ga maru na president's rules ki manung sidadi president rules amalai bani na hana ko gi cabinet na torunga do ma'am du si governing council na ka tor ka bakara khena ba ma'am am lebani na adu ma'am the remind to the adu gi notifications tor ko mari baja sang aduna sri the article 371C contravene to bagi na traga to the bagi debate se lebam thopra kamai thambi
Masih kita lay di uji ojan oni ne fajan di high bi re ko adurusu as part mayam na akhoi na mayam nei na ga da ba ma khak ti akhoi ai gi as far as my knowledge ko uji ki PR thamba je full kaino impose to na triebo PR thamba suspended any kaino vaccination ne ba ko aduna MLA singse still they are enjoying their facility ko only assembly government form du leite hai bo ne ba adusu ngasai gi article makha ma da ne ba and PR imposed to by je article 356 ki madu chana bo ne ba madu chana kre hai na state aduda article loina mak to atop du chana roi hai ba na te so example ama pi ge ba ji akhai se PR matam ni PR ne hai ba digi Manipur se PR na adudi PR matam da leiramdaba loma o leiramaba loma se pithokraba tawkraba akhoi prajana yadara haibagi poto adu id law do as part laibe singna phajana nainara phapta hanba madi change adabu akhoi people ki pulse people ki feeling se relationship in a hen bond important way bra hoje ai ki contradiction di sai ki Bengal Eastern Frontier regulation sisu 1873 ki ek ne ba
right
ko leiramba mayam le adubu ngasai amaduna 1972 ki ko ek ne habo aduga ngasai Manipur se akoina ase Manipur mo ina ngangbo ne ko confusion am lai bese so muka masi oi tarade princeless state oiram habo ko aduga adu damu parade hojiki pot to excluded oiba una uba hojiki kaino pot se aduna akhoi gi matam mathau kaino se naira gam lai habo aduna ngasi UNC na ni bodo akhoi di ngasai tholi pot to da naina bo ane ko ja noni na su bajat ba haire akhoi su haire akhoi di kana na oppose against nate do UNC na moi na piri basina ngasai gi kari or su HAC da reference to bi ga da bani haibani aba ado without reference masidi akhoi gi illegal way natra unconstitutional way haibani aba moi na demand to bodo maram di Ching the day akhoi chief clan community ki oina chatte traditional and customary practices tawe haibo ne ba adur de adu ki su adum ama thithokpa identify karamai na traditional land habje define to ba aduga masai customary habisina kya phabu cover to ba haibo pot to da
okay
adu leiram ba de ki article 371C se lakpra leirambara haina aidi khangje ba I understand din di adu leiram da bataradi traditional customary practices toram da bataradi why the law is different go for hills and the valleys and why Vivigiri the then president of India go mahagna article 371C se 1972 the karigi sem lambra it's a big question ne aba no as a big question ne aba adu mamang da ngasai Eastern Frontier Regulation Act to the Leram Kreaba.
Right.
If it is this, the Dugamana Kamana Semu Sembano, Hibiki Poto, Dona, clarity amadi government and people did to me, Ojik, PRD Tamgre, Gom. PR Tamgre, the Article 371C said during the PR, Masichana Day, Hibakumba, low labra, other labra, Adu government and clarification amadi people die. If it is so, go, Adu labor Tarade, Zanoni, Hibudu to me. I did my low ebo. Adubo. Aina lakchaning bade PR thamlasu lairasu thamdrasu akhoi ki self isada mayam da contradiction ma khal leibade PR thamlasu thamdrasu lairasu hill area committee article 371C se lai haina akhoi na de hoji puthora ngana ba UNC na jo sigma lap ka na madu pallaga de haiba but is it existing in the state of Manipur? Is it living article in the state of Manipur? ID question chawna layo. Okay. Article 371C ID refer to togani. But government labor kanda jo article 371C ki kaino de akhoi u de powers and the functions activities we don't see anything till today for the last many go asigi question je akhoi da chawna layo maming da tum thamba it becomes just like a statue sigi question na chawba akhoi di lay ngasai ki land resources na thokpa 18 September order to ya they have to towana thamlase UNC na people to memo do chume chumde have to towana thamlaga aigi contradiction amadi aigi self confusion amadi controversy amadi is it article 371 is existing? Is it living? hinglibro boko si question jine ba khoi da di
Okay.
si question jine adu da dum loire adu na masi PR thambagi thamdabagi adu ada yawani hill area committee adu article adom refer tawraga ngang madi ngang ba adu so far aina chawraga masi phawba lakpa kanda de article 371 c se masigi saktam do madugi kaino do kari haisara manipuri de go madugi saktam madugi thabak madugi function madugi kanaba akhoida uba piba phangkide
Okay.
adu di kri huji akhoina kri amu hairu ni ko aduna masai adu da haida bi da article 371 c se fajana function to bio haiba ama adu de yaw report tu chalai ra de aduna heno akhoi gi di tongje ko
Okay. Okay. Article 371 CC mapung phana chanan view president gi rule matam obi ai natraga madugi mamang da hadi khu gi assembly ningthina function tawri matam do obisu ai have hum du nasai gi article 351 khu huji president's rule article 356 ma khad lakuni duga huji khu gi nenari ba HAC sin article 371 c ni adno article 371 c gi makha sida nasai president no order ma tawraga manipur da HAC se same kare adona HAC se during the PR legadra leroidra have hum duni article 371 c gi hek hor han ba first word have tare first word is notwithstanding no hono eta notwithstanding anything in the constitution koi constitution ya any article am ojasenu sigi article sida hari bohum si ingani chanagani aduna article 356 PR le jabu targasu sigi 371 c siri adum chanagani have male tona 3 HSC si tana biramu have gi wahum na singba male united naga council gi but aduna mafum mor adu zadum thambiyo jana ai zamale 371 c na traga HSC si manipur da masigi captain masigi kana basi karino aduga masi karige tamta controversial orino masi karamna yengmi nagadage punna kamai thambe
adui matang duni ngasai gi oza kasar no pukat pirei do
right
haibadi sigi notification je leram da ba irrespective of this notification akoi my function se ICC ne kari tawkhra ge ngasi phawda
right
adugi question essential edu lai aduna ngasai gi 371 c amasung makha tarakpa presidential order si yengmata gadi mandate ama piri SSC da not only just to object any move by the legislature that concerns with the interests of the tribal people and that's why I say the nasagi hill areas ki sorry ado hill areas ki magi developmental mandate ama yauri development work policy introduce tawna magi adu de koi visible oidi oza asang na phajana pukhat piri se madu gi jaga sing se hill area committee si exist tawi tawde se koi na ubu phangde aduga whereas smaina khara controversially interpret tawi yab jaga sing de koi exist tawi hazima immerse tawkhale ule aduna hill area committee se manipur gi political landscape ta yamna maru ebe role am lawraga lai amurom da mase progressive oibra have the questionable way maram di ekoi gi legislature se keno da khaidok banate representation se on the basis of ethnicity the khaidok te magi constituency demarcation toraga as per the constitution gi formula da chat pane population basis ta kaya leraga di kaya represent to we have say leisure ne this is across the country aduna sidai da koina akoi gi ethnicity gi basis ta ngasai gi representation si urakpa taragadi ngasai gi British India gi rule de laigibudo government of India act 1919 dagi hauraga 35 lakhiba cans the representation se magi di India gi because of communal character of the very basis of Indian polity se aduna maraga Hindu gi Musliman gi lakhi adu Manipur de adu torki dev ekoi gi ningthau palingi matam ningthau palingai degi modern democracy the transition lak matam dasu there was no political representation on the basis of ethnicity or religion community the torki dev masi gi waklon ji pusalaga koina any move se community basis ta masi maitei gi oigidore yatra masi nagagi oigidore hairgadi ekoi gi political existence se pura akoi gi deteriorate torkani aduga masi masak mangalakani aduna 371 c gi role se progressive ta yeng ji haiba taragadi nasai gi developmental magi mandate ama pibase constitution gi magi article isep ta yawribase masida yeng biba aduga ngasai gi mongoda piriba mandate asina Manipur gi da kramaina khoise coexist tobagi contribute tawgadagi sida oin sapibuna phagran khali adu ngasai ozarasan thambirambudo khoi gi 371 cc ga 356 ga presidential rule lay matamda akhoi gi assembly se magi power lite it doesn't function at all
right
aduna sidaida committee asidi assembly gi part amoina same gibani aduna meaning yaujare when the assembly is not functioning what is the status what could be the status of the committee is an integral part of the assembly.
Assembly.
Aduna sigi apparatus in meaning chumna yengbiragadi huji labor situation sida ekoi interpretation se ngasai helera committee to refer tau they have because 356 is there.
Right.
Haibasineba.
Right.
Aduna when the assembly is there, the committee is alive. Sigi potsineba. Ado ekoi interpretation se ngasai in haizabado masi community gi against chatpase masi ju phattabra khanjeba community amana atoba community ama phatte haraga aigi afabdu puthokna bhona base that is some maybe a weakness community basis tawgum se democratic oiba political representation gi idea du thazaraga tawraga di khara hena sumaya ma taba the welcome tawning ba ado ethnocentric oiba community centric ta tawr sakitaraga di akoi machine ko in mangjaba natana di kesu leiroi delhi what would be the concern about this all politics boy kem laite mo khogi di aduna akoi gi oiba wastage of energy adu oigani na thamjai
Okay, ethnocentric oiba akoi community ama khaki oiba miyeng da yeng nagum si and a democratic oiba lamdam sigi apunba fabric te hena kana ga dulum da sang sa chaiba hum dun article 371 c su lamdam sigi chingelam sing da development porona bo honaba matam da yam chawba role lahon bu damakta sa waza sangna ga thambiri ba hscc leirubugi kari magi wan thok leirubugi magi practically physically on ground da karamna roll out tawri bige thap magi function mayam da thok mayam da habagi wahang sing mayam lai ha tere don hari mayam sing sisu ningthina roll out tarpa loina mayam nasu communal oiba natraga ethnocentric oiba mongda any law natraga any regulation any notification bu puna bo hona darbusu mathok tagani habigi notes tanga sigi da files ki edition se matang shalo sinjargi masigi edition su makum farm gi dam ta ozahmo pore bis dam kan tha jupno chari appreciate you joining learning imbe puno sunga sigi edition se karam to bi SKTV Manipur ge toan ba social media handle singda join to biraga comment number di feedback thabir pi agani. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us from the other side of the screen. Until next time, this is Nongthombam signing off.